What's up, my babes, beauties, baddies? Welcome back to our channel. It's a full set of acrylic nails, and this is the look I achieved. It's basically just like a pink beige nude glam. There are a couple different colors involved. So if you are going for a ballerina or a coffin shape like I am, I would suggest that you actually start by taking a scissors and literally just cutting off a little bit of the sides of each of those nail tips. Just again to cut back on some filing time and make it a little easier to achieve your desired shape. Filing my nails to the shape that I'm looking for actually does take me some time. However, this is not something that I skip through, that I go through quickly, or that I rush. It's really important that you have a nice shape and that all of your nails are matching in shape. Otherwise, it's just not going to look professional. You don't want it to look like you did your nails yourself. So making sure that all of your nails are equal length and making sure that the shape looks good, that you spent time on it, and that all of the shapes match. That's really important. That's literally the foundation for everything you're going to do next. As you can see, the next thing that you want to do after that is take your nail file to again make sure that there is no shine or glue on your natural nail bed before putting that adhesive on it. You want to put the adhesive on it, of course, before you start with your acrylic. And boom, here we go with the acrylic. So for my pinky and for my ring finger, I'm going to be using my Secret Nude. For my middle, pointer, and thumb, so my remaining 3 fingers, I'm going to be using my Secret Pink. So I'm using colored acrylic here. I am not using clear acrylic like I did the last time. The pinky and ring finger are going to be nude acrylic, and the remaining 3 fingers are going to be pink acrylic. So what you want to do is make sure that you take your time with this step, of course. And my number 1 tip to you would be to only pick up and work with a small amount of product at a time. I cannot stress that enough. It is much better to take your time and to use more beads, right? Because they're smaller, so you're going to need more of them. It's better to do that than to just get a big glob of acrylic and just slap it on the nail. I mean, that doesn't even sound right. You know, you're going to have a mess. It's going to be lumpy. It's going to be bumpy. And honestly, it's going to take you more time to have to file all that down and smooth all of that out. So it's a waste of your time and it's a waste of your product to rush, right? You think that you're saving time and you're just causing more work for yourself. So if you don't have time to do your nails, then don't do them that day, right? Do them another day, because you're gonna do them half, you know what, and they're not gonna look great. You're not gonna be happy with them, and it's gonna take you a lot of time to correct the mistakes that you rushed through. This is in real time here, so I did not speed any of this up. So you can literally see just how long it's actually taking me per nail. I mean, it doesn't take me super long, but you can see that I'm not rushing through it. You know, I'm picking up several small beads. I use small amounts of acrylic at a time and really work to build the nail up. The second tip that I'm going to give you is equally important, and it is to work with acrylic that is slightly runny or a little more on the wet side. It is better to work with a bead that's a little wet than to work with a bead that's a little too dry. First of all, if the bead is too dry, it's not going to adhere to your nail properly, so you are going to get lifting. Secondly, if the bead is kind of wet, then that means it's runny. And that actually can work to your advantage, as you can see here. And again, I don't know exactly how noticeable this is on camera because the camera is kind of face in the direction that I'm seeing my nails in. So I'm not sure if you can actually pick this up. Maybe if the camera were facing the opposite direction, it might be a little more visible. But what I'm doing is, after I put my bead down, I tilt my nail, I tilt my hand down. So gravity is actually helping me and doing some of the work here and pulling that bead down. See, I'm doing it here. So my hand is not up, it's not going upward, nor is it straight. My entire hand is actually tilted downward, maybe about 40 degrees or so. And again, gravity is going to pull that runny bead down. So it's actually going to make it easier to lay acrylic down that's going to be flat and smooth, right? So it saves us a lot of filing time, and it pretty much ensures that you are going to have a flat and smooth nail without even filing really. And you'll see when I'm done, my nails look so smooth, I barely have to do any filing at all at the end. There are no bumps or lumps. And a lot of this has to do, again, with using small beads, right? So that it's easy for me to fix any lumps or bumps. And also to use a wet bead so that the gravity can literally pull the bead down my nail bed from my cuticle down to the tip of my nail. I don't do much, I just kind of facilitate this. I mold the acrylic as it dries, but I don't actually manipulate it much, as you can see. I'm using a very light hand, and when I touch the acrylic with my brush, it's very lightly. It's almost just, again, like I'm feathering it downward and facilitating it downward. But I'm not being rough. Pretty much gravity that's pulling that bead down the nail for me. So it ends up being a very easy and pretty quick process. Again, I'm taking my time, but even still you can see that I'm going through this pretty quickly. It's not rushed, but again, it's something that doesn't take you too long if you know what you're doing. So practice makes perfect. Don't get discouraged if your first set doesn't come out perfect, because it won't. This is something that you do have to learn. This is a skill. So it might not come overnight, but I promise you, once you get the hang of it and you keep these 2 tips in mind, number 1, work with a small amount of product and build it up. And number 2, work with a runny bead and allow gravity to pull that bead downward. All you have to do is facilitate and kind of mold it as it dries. Those are really the 2 most important things to keep in mind. As far as brush size goes, you can really play around with it. There's no right or wrong brush size. It's really what you're most comfortable with. Some people prefer to use really small brushes. Some people prefer to use really big brushes. I think that if you're more experienced, you can go with a bigger brush, just because you know what you're doing and you don't need as much precision. But for me, I do best with brush sizes that are like right in the middle. So that's what I'm using, and I got this brush from Amazon. I'm sorry I don't have the information on this brush. I got it so long ago. As you can see, the ink is literally coming off of it, but it does the job, so we're gonna stick with it. So see how I'm showing you the sides of my nails, and I have not filed yet, but they are so smooth. It looks like they've been filed, but they obviously have not been. If you use my technique, your nails will come out this smooth, and they're gonna look pretty close to perfect, right? If you take your time, use small beads and use wet beads. And again, I mentioned this before, but wet beads also adhere to the nail a little better, so your set is more likely to last a little longer. Just for the sake of time, I did not show you how I did the second hand, but it's literally exactly the same as how I did the first hand. So now the next step, of course, is going to be to file the nail again and make sure that you didn't lose your shape. If you did a good job with this at the beginning before you put any acrylic down, then this should be pretty easy. Of course, you want to make sure that you file the nail to your desired liking, to the shape that you want your nail to be in prior to putting acrylic, because if you try to do it afterwards, again, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your product. And acrylic is sort of hard, and it does take some time to file. So you want to get your nail as close to your ideal shape as possible before actually putting that acrylic down. That way, once the acrylic is down, there's less filing for you to have to do, or to have to file through. Again, acrylic can take some time to file down, especially when there's a lot of it. So as you can see, I pretty much just use my thumb for support for each of the fingers as I file. And I file the top to make sure that it's nice and straight. Then what I do is I again take that same handheld file and I just quickly file the tops of the nails just to make sure again that everything is nice and smooth, that there are no lumps or bumps. You can do this with an electric nail file, not my preference, but you can do it that way. I know that people like to use electric nail files because they quote-unquote are faster or save you some time, but for me personally, I'm kind of intimidated by them, I'm not going to lie. And honestly, this doesn't really take that much longer anyway, and I feel like I have more control. So I like to just use my 99-cent handheld file that I get at Hair City. And as you can see, I just quickly buff the tops of the nails, buff the sides one more time, make sure that there are no lumps or bumps, that my shape is perfect. move on to the next nail, do the same thing until all of my nails have been filed. Okay, so once everything has been filed, the next step is going to be for you to buff your nails. This is just because sometimes the handheld nail file, or the electric nail file for that matter, can leave some lines or scratches in the acrylic, and that's going to be visible through your polish. So just quickly buff that out so that everything is very, very smooth to the touch. Wash your hands so that there's no powder interfering with your polish and making your polish bumpy. And then you can move on to your nail polish. So I am using here OPI Bubble Bath, and I'm going to use OPI Bubble Bath on the 3 nails that I created with a pink acrylic powder. The reason I use pink acrylic for the powder is because it's a very nice base for this color. This is a very sheer pink, a sheer milky pink, and it looks really pretty when painted on top of pink acrylic, just because this polish is kind of translucent, so some of the acrylic underneath does show through, and I just really like the look. So I had the pink acrylic and I figured I would create this look here that way. For the 2 nails, my pinky finger and my ring finger, that I created using nude acrylic, I'm going to use, you guessed it, nude nail polish. Again, the nude nail polish that I'm using is not incredibly opaque. It is kind of sheer, and some of the acrylic underneath does kind of peek through, as you can see. So it just really looks nice together, and the 2 complement each other really well. And I do 2 coats of each. And I will leave the names of the nail polishes that I use in the description box down below. I was kind of playing around with this nail set. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted or what kind of designs I wanted to do. I just knew that I wanted to do a nude nail set, but I also wanted it to have a little pop of glam. So I actually did this off camera, so you won't see me do it, but you will see at the end. I did take some holographic nail color, and I put the holographic nail color on top of my pinky finger and also on top of my pointer finger. So as you can see, right, my pinky is nude and my pointer is pink. The holographic nail color that I use is actually a pink gold. So it looks really nice, you'll see at the end. It kind of gives my nails a nice pop. It's very subtle, but I think it's enough to catch someone's eye, and it looks slightly different because of the differences in the base color. So the holographic nail polish does look a little different on top of each nail. So it's just kind of a little design that's going on, just enough to kind of catch your eye and something to kind of differentiate the nails a little so they don't all look exactly the same, but still kind of keeping it subtle and nude and classy. I ended up doing the holographic polish on top of the clear gel, and then I went over with a second coat of clear gel, and that's basically how I got the look at the end. So here they are. So again, if you take a quick look at my pointer finger and at my pinky, you'll see that those have somewhat of a hologram to them, and that's because of that polish that I put on top of it. And I will show you exactly which polish that is in a moment. As always, I will link everything down in the description box so that you guys can see the products that I use, and so it can be easy for you to find them if you're interested in picking up any of these things. If you have not tried to do your own nails, I definitely would recommend it. It's really not all that hard once you get the hang of it. You might be intimidated at first, but it's really something that you can pick up pretty easily. So I definitely would give it a try. You'll save so much money. It's a fun hobby. I honestly enjoy doing my nails. I feel like it's part of my self-care, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. I don't see it as a burden at all. I save lots of money, and my nails always come out exactly the way I want them to because, well, I'm the one that's doing them, so I can make them look exactly how I want. So it's definitely worth giving a shot at home, seeing if you're good at it, and even if you're not, continuing to practice it, because practice makes perfect, right? No one was born with the skill. It's something that you have to learn. So that's what videos like mine are for. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in our next video. Good luck!